Yo, peace, everybody. Real quick update on what's been going on down on our end. You know, a lot of you had found out that the bank was trying to repo Charlie's RV, and we found out about that as well. And that's his home and someone who's, you know, done a lot for us. So we were able to stop that from happening and paying off his debts by donating him all the money that we made in June from our Patreon. So it's really amazing for us to be able to use this platform for stuff like that. A lot of people in our scene don't really get help like that. So we don't take it lightly, and we really appreciate the ability to do that, and it wouldn't have been possible without everybody who signed up. Now the month that's coming up, we're going to be doing something for Hurt One BF Crew. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of him and his situation, seeing as it happened a while ago, and it's still currently going down. His home was raided in 2008. He was sentenced to jail in 2010 and been on parole since, which makes it 11 years. And the reason he's still on parole is because he owes $60,000 in restitution. But he's been, you know, slowly paying that off. And we're going to be donating all of the money we make to him at the end of July. So some of the stuff that happened to him through getting caught up writing graffiti was he couldn't own any art making material legally. So they stopped him from owning chalk, markers, pencils, paint, canvases. And this is someone who's he does art, even just outside of graphs. So that's, and then he couldn't own a cell phone, couldn't drive a car, couldn't leave the county, couldn't be anywhere not contactable by landline phone, still can't leave the county. So he's getting closer to paying off the restitution and finally ending this 11 years of parole. So our plan is to finish that off. Just like we were able to save Charlie's home successfully, our plan is to stop this parole thing from going down and just finish it off, and then that's a thing of the past, you know what I mean? So that's what we're going to be doing with all of the money we make in July for everybody who signs up for the Patreon. What you'll get in return is access to Sake, Sean Crawford, Les, and Lot 29 episodes. They're all up right now. And as well, we're going to be sending everyone a print that we made on high quality photo paper of Hurt's day in court. And it's him with two officers by his side, and it has his hand style under it. So trying to make it worth it to sign up and help this guy out and help us help this guy out. So I can't once again thank you enough for everyone who's been supporting since the start and everyone who's signed up for anything we've done or even listened to an episode. Hopefully we can keep this going and just continue, helping out people who we think deserve the help. So the link to the Patreon is in our Instagram bio, and it's also on our website. Yo, thank you so much. Enjoy the episode. Peace. All right, we're fucking live. All right, give me 1 second. Let me check this. Take it. Yes. All right, we're live. Yo. Ow! Thanks for coming on the show again, you guys.
What's up?
So I guess the first thing I had in mind was the fact that obviously you guys are into like hardcore music, and it plays a huge part of your life. And hardcore music is a genre that is predominantly white people, right? And why do you think that is? Like, honestly, why is it that it's that? Whereas like because it's not as if hardcore isn't a genre that it talks about struggles, it talks about things that like people who come from like these backgrounds could relate to, like people who are growing up in, let's say, like a poorer neighborhood or undergoing struggles and feeling a lot of problems, like they'll relate to it.
Right.
And often I'll listen to it and I know this one Ecuadorian dude named Wilson who straight up walked here from Ecuador and has been through like everything you could imagine that like an immigrant have been through. And he like obviously is like a grown ass man that has nothing to do with hardcore. But I listen to it and I'm like, yo, this dude would be hyped on this song. But then it only attracts like, not only, but it's predominantly white people. Why do you think that is?
It's a good question. I never thought of why that happens, but I don't know. I mean, in my eyes, the first hardcore band was the Bad Brains, 5 black dudes who became Rastas. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that it is the way it is now. I don't know, Daniel. You know why it's only white guys?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess if I was gonna guess, I think it just has to do with like access, and I think not only like access in the sense of like, like quote unquote gatekeeping or whatever, but also access in the sense of like what culture is for, for communities outside of white people. I mean, like in the black community, I mean, you hear music where anyone's like just like yelling and there's loud guitar, it's just like automatically like it's devil music, because the majority of people
like
are
like almost like scene kid shit, like shit that you don't do if you're not that.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't even have to be like scene kid shit. I mean, you think all the way back to the 80s and like have bands like Motley Crue and shit like that, putting like Under Flames for like, you know, kids dying and shit, and it's just like, oh, it's because it's that devil music. And like, you know, I think you have to keep in mind like culture plays such a huge role in how communities drive, and so much of that is like the church and the black community.
Same for Latino community as well.
Yeah, and so I think when you start exposing people to something new, I think people are scared of it. And, you know, like, I think now we're seeing a huge change in that, because there is so much access to so much more information. And, like, you know, it's like when we were growing up, like, I remember listening to, I can't remember if it was this podcast, your podcast was the Ace, just you talking about, like, and I might be messing this up a little bit, but, you know, you're talking about, like, you know, people like calling you like white for like liking certain stuff, and you're like, obviously I definitely had that too, you know, like I was stealing my sister's jeans because I wanted to look like fucking skateboarders that were white, and I, you know, just the whole thing. And like, but you know, I think now it's like kind of cool to like, I don't know, like know everything, and to like dip your toes in everything instead of like needing like identity, you know. I think that's kind of like a big cultural shift that sort of happened with like the internet age, and like also why that's sort of been. But I think there's a lot of more people of color in hardcore, at least like finding it now than ever.
Definitely. And like you said, it has a lot to do with access, like the internet and shit like that. Whereas kids who grew up in maybe a predominantly black or brown neighborhood who aren't exposed to guitar music, you know what I mean? Now you got like TikTok and fucking YouTube and all that shit, where it's like you're just a fucking typing and click away from a subgenre that you never knew existed.
Like a whole entire world.
Whole world. Like there's kids right now on Long Island right now, I'm sure, going up to towns like Roosevelt, Wyandanch, like predominantly black neighborhoods, that don't know that there's a show in Amityville 20 minutes away, and there's a whole scene, you know what I mean? And but they don't know to go looking for that, and things will find you if they find you. But yeah, I think access has a lot to do with it. But when shows start coming up, you're going to see a lot more pigmentation in the crowd, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It also has a lot to do with where you were at. Like, New York in the 80s and shit, if you look at old pictures and shit, it's mad, like, brown and black people. Because of that's New York in the 80s was, I mean, there's just more of us out there. When I play shows in California, it's mad brown people. When I play Tucson, Arizona, the white people are in the minority at those shows. It's fucking crazy. You know, so it has a lot to do with where you're at, too.
Yeah, I mean, like, sure. I feel like, too, it's like, it's a huge, like, mentally fabricated thing as well. Like, you see a guitar, or you see, like, a skateboard, or you see, like even, like, a hockey stick, and you're like, that's white people shit, you know what I mean? Like, that's, like, shit we don't fuck with. Like, if anything, like, that, like, destroys my thing. I don't even know, like, you know what I mean, though? Yeah. So it's, like, that whole thing gets grouped into it, which is like interesting to me, because like, you know, like you're into playing like street hockey, you're into playing like hardcore, you're into like skateboarding, like these are like, especially like on the come up, like, yeah, there are mad like black and brown people who do these things, but obviously like how many like the most legendary, like the majority of them are not like pigmented or whatever you want to call it. It's like Eric, and like the entire Baker team, besides like Antoine Dixon and like a few others, like. And it's like, it's just interesting how it's like that. And like, why do you think you guys like got into these things as opposed to like so many others who would never, not just not get into it, but not even consider it?
I mean, I just saw hockey on TV one day when I was living in Brooklyn, and I was like, oh shit, they're ice skating. I had never been ice skating. Like, I didn't know what was good with that at all, but I saw it, and the team was the New Jersey Devils, and I was like, that's cool. I like Nickelback and like Red Hot Chili Peppers from watching the music videos and like devil stuff. I don't know. I was like a child, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was like, that's cool. And then I moved to Long Island. My stepdad is white, so you know, white guy kind of got me into hockey. But I think I would have found it either way, because I was interested before I ever met my stepdad. I was interested in guitar music before I ever met my stepdad. When I moved in with him with my mom, he got me into Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and shit like that. So that definitely built the trajectory that I went on into my adulthood. But I liked all that shit before him. So one way or another, I was gonna get into it. You know what I mean? It just appealed to me. I really don't know why. Like guitar music and hockey and quote unquote white shit appealed to me. But I mean, if you think about it, guitar music is just as much black and brown shit as it is white shit.
110%.
You know what I mean? Hockey is definitely some white shit. But nowadays, like, we're getting in there. You know what I mean? We're getting in there. And like, I don't know. Like, what really, really got me into hockey is I was in the mall one day and I saw a video game, NHL 2003, I think. There's a player named Jerome McGinley on the front. And Jerome McGinley is a black dude. You know, he's mixed, but he's black. Obviously black looking out. So I was like, oh shit, like that's a black dude on the fucking. That's fucking crazy. My mom bought me the game, and I started going crazy with it, and that's what like really got me into it. And again, that was before I met my stepdad. So one way or another, hockey was gonna be my shit.
Yeah. No, I agree with like what Daniel was saying before, like how the change of like the times right now, like things are becoming more, people are becoming more like open-minded and accepting of like these type of things, because I feel like back in the days, like it would just be specific things in different like neighborhoods and like areas where like you listen to a specific type of music and you can't go outside of that, otherwise it'd be like an outsider and weird. But now, like, you know, I feel like these things are more accepting, and like it's sick to see, because kids that felt like they didn't have that, they can just do it now, and like they can live a life
without
and,
that extra wall of seclusion or like hate from your own fucking people. You know what I mean? But what about you though, like with like getting into skating? And
I mean, I think for me, you know, like it was, you know, like for me, so like I have a huge ass family, you know, like I have, you know, like older brother, 3 older sisters, 5 younger stepsisters and younger stepbrother. You know, I'm dead smack in the middle. But at the same time, I'm like sort of regular. I'm sort of that cliche story of like, you know, casualty of like divorce kind of kid, where it's just like I have this huge family, but I don't really know my family, and so like when you're in that position, like it kind of put me like my one music memory from like as a kid that I have was that me and my brother really 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 loved Linkin Park, you know, and so like that was guitar music. It's also rap, you know, but like. So with that, it's just like, there's no other fucking black kids that know that are fucking jocking Linkin Park. You know what I mean?
Just me, bro.
Yeah.
Just me.
And so like, I don't know. I think in some kind of way it like ended up being, I saw guitar music and like skating as just like, I guess just like tools to like allow me to be an individual and be like myself, and like, you know, because I just didn't feel like I related. You know, my dad's white, and like, you know, so he played like Zeppelin and, you know, fucking like the Beatles and shit, and like the House, and you know, I got.
Because you honestly, you really like do your own thing. You know what I mean? Like you'll literally wear like a cardigan and some like Jim Greco style pants and like some like loafers that like, you know, you don't see people wearing that unless they like just watch the Hammers video. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Like, and you'll just not give a fuck really about like what you're quote unquote, like, I guess assumed to be doing, you know what I mean? Or like supposed to be doing in comparison to the rest. Like, or like some of the stuff that like you'll scream into a mic is just like stuff where it's like, yo, this person's like Satan, and like the way they're like screaming it.
Appreciate that.
And like they're gonna be like, you know what I mean? Like they it would just be such a thing to be judged on. Like when you showed your family, or have you shown your family like these things, like what do they think of this?
My mom hated all the music shit. So I've been going to shows since I'm 13, 14 years old, and she hated all of it. Because it's just like, I mean, it's abrasive music, you know what I mean? Especially vocally, you're fucking screaming, like you said. Screaming. There's not much skill involved. There's just screaming, and it sounds crazy to someone who's literally never heard that. Like my mom had never heard that until I showed her. So it's kind of ridiculous, you know what I mean? And she fucking hated it.
Or the idea of a mosh pit to like someone like, you know, I don't know your crazy. Mom, but you like described her, and I can just make an image of like a Colombian woman.
It's probably 100% accurate.
Like a mosh pit. Like, what do you have a mental problem? That's what they're gonna think.
Well, I broke my arm in a pit once. And I didn't tell. I broke my arm at This Is Hardcore in like 2013 or 14.
Oh, dude, I saw you in a sling.
Yeah.
Like front flipping.
I broke it the first day. I got it cast it up, whatever, and then 3 days later I came home and I was like, Mom, look, this happened. I was skateboarding. I don't fucking skate. I was like, I fell. She was like, she's not a fucking idiot. Yeah. She knew something happened at the show. That only pushed her further into hating all the music shit. But I wanted to touch on something you said earlier, like, or one of us said, like, being into skating or guitar music or whatever made you, or being what we're into makes us like an outsider. At the time when I was getting into hockey and music and shit, that made me different than all the white kids too. Because like hip hop was the thing, hip hop and like popular music, whatever. That was cool to all my friends in school. Like no one was listening to the shit I was listening to. And I think, and hockey is like the weird sport, you know what I mean? It's like not one of the main things. You know, I have a hockey team in my school, but I like the idea of being like the outcast. Like I liked, when I was a kid, I did things to further that. I wanted to be different than everybody. I already was, and then I started forcing it, and I liked it. I always wanted to be outside of that shit because I thought like all the pop shit and all that shit was like mad corny. You know what I mean? So like it super. I wasn't even thinking about it in terms of race until, you know, I started thinking critically about race itself. But as a kid, it was like I just want to be different than all of them, and I already am. But now let's see how far I can push it. Let's see what crazy shirts I could wear, like what I'm gonna do to my hair and shit like that. You know what I mean? So it was more so just wanting to be different than everybody, regardless of race. You know what I mean?
I actually have a question for you about that, because this is something that I think about in my own life regarding how I thought about race growing up compared to how I think about it now. Even though I didn't necessarily think about the things that I was doing in regards to like me being like the different like kid or whatever. I mean, I wanted to be different, you know, like I never felt like I wanted to be a part of what everyone else was doing. But did you ever in some way think about how the fact that you weren't white prohibited you, or at least had some kind of like factor in like the outcomes of like situations that happened in your life? Like even though you weren't like, you know, I think when you're young you don't really have like, I don't know if it's a bitterness, but like I don't think you have that full scope of like what race relations are like yet. But you know, Dave Chappelle's on the air, and you're like, you know, you fucking, there's still shit where you're like, you still hate some of that information, and like I wonder if that's something that you ever felt to any degree. And honestly, you too. Like I think about that a lot.
Are you asking like if I was ever cognizant of like not being able to do something or something because of my race?
Yeah, I mean, like, I can specifically think of, like, times where I was, like, you know, where my outcome was, in my brain, if I was white, I would have been able to do that. Or I would have been picked to do that, or something along those lines.
I think I just would have been treated a little differently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have been the butt of so many jokes. And, like, for me, the whole thing was, like, oh, Sebastian is... We're not really sure what Sebastian is. He's like brown, but like his mom is super dark, and his grandparents are super dark, but he's like not as dark. And he speaks like us, like, you know, he's got like the New York accent, whatever, but not like the black New York accent. But he likes like Metallica and shit. He also knows how to ice skate really well and plays hockey, but he likes 50 Cent a lot. So it was just like people like, it was like when you're a kid, you're ignorant to shit, and a lot of kids aren't malicious or evil. You know what I mean? You grow into that. But as far as like what you're asking, I don't know. I can't think of anything that was prohibited from doing because of that, or I felt like I couldn't do or I shouldn't do. But it was just like I was never not being reminded that I was not like the white kids,
for sure,
or that I wasn't like the black kids or the Latino kids because of my interests. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I guess I asked that, you know, thinking about, you know, like, you know, growing up. I mean, you grew up on Long Island, Brooklyn and Long Island, yeah. So like, obviously, like, people talk about, you know, New York, you know, being like the melting pot. There's so many different cultures here. And, you know, like, how did that differentiate, like, when you went to Long Island? Was there like a difference in like the culture mix, or was it?
Culturally, yes. Racially, not so much. Because where I grew up in Brooklyn and Bensonhurst, it was mad like Eastern European people, Italian people, and Chinese people. Okay. Then when I moved to Long Island, it was mad just Irish and Italian people. So I didn't have as many like Asian friends or Asian people around me, but I was still like the only like black Hispanic person in my neighborhood, just like I was in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? I mean, but culturally it was different because, you know, like white people in Bensonhurst are different than white people in Long Island. For sure. You know what I mean? But yeah,
for me, it's kind of like, you know, like I'm Chinese and Ecuadorian, but the thing is like, in terms of like culture. Like my whole family's from Ecuador. They all live in Ecuador still. Like my mom and dad are the only people like from my family who live in America. But like to someone, not to like a Asian person, like a specifically Chinese, but like to a non-Asian person, I look like, or they think I look like full on like Chino, you know what I mean? Like full on. Like mad kids would be like that's like the Chinese kid, you know what I mean? And I can like, you know, like Chinese people have that thing where like they're like the stereotype is like mad quiet, mad afraid, mad like essentially frail. Like frail, push aroundable, blah blah blah. And like I think that because of that, I like maybe subconsciously went like out of my way to like not do that, because I'm like maybe like, yo, like this is like straight up like I don't want to be this like soft person. Not that like all Chinese people are soft, but like you know what I'm saying, like so like that leads to like actions that
well, there was an assumption made about you that you didn't feel was justified, so you're like, well, fuck that, I'm going to show them.
Yeah. Like no, it's like it's like crazy how like all that shit plays out, but like when you're super young, it's like super, I guess like maybe unconscious, like you don't really realize it. I can definitely remember mad times in my life when I was younger, when I would like really wish that I was white, like straight up wishing. Like I would like all my favorite skateboarders were white, all the people, like all these things, like it was like you know what I mean? And I just was like, damn, like I'm fucking Chinese, bro. Like this is like I remember thinking like this is like the wackest thing that I could be, and I like of course like that's what I thought. And like I remember like,
yeah, I mean honestly, that's kind of what I was asking him, because that's sort of how I felt too at times.
I was like, this is so whack. Like I got the shit end of the stick. Wow. Like like especially I remember like Ryan Sheckler specifically like getting mad girls and stuff, and I remember being like, yo, I can't even, like if I have my hair like that, I just look like a schoolboy fool. And then like you know, it was pretty corny, honestly, and like I'm glad actually that like these things happen, because then you really learn from them and like understand. Yeah. But I also remember like anytime like when I was in like middle school or whatever, like high school, like if you like trying to talk to a girl that I liked or anything like that, I would be like, yo, like they're not gonna want to talk to like the Chinese kid, bro. They're gonna want to talk to like the like ill ass white boy with like who like fits the image of like what it. Fuck, bro, like I fucking look like this, god damn it. But it's funny because then like as time went on, like I actually absolutely like love all of this about myself. Yeah. But then when you're younger and you're confused and all you want to do is like be accepted by the group and by like society as a whole and like fit an image, but then you like other things, you're like, yo, like what am I, you know what I mean? Like should I embrace wholeheartedly like this like stereotype, or should I like be in this weird middle situation where I straight up like was wishing I was white? It's like so fucked up to like think about that stuff, because it's just like whack that you'd even want to wish to be something that you're not.
Yeah, it's, I mean, sad, you know, you think about, I mean, classically there's so many things that has to do with like all of the pressures you feel to fit this mold that you think everyone wants you to be, and then also like you feel like a fucking freak for even wanting to be different, you know? Like you kind of are, you know? Like I know both of you, you're both pretty fucking weird.
But the thing is, like, it's like
thanks.
People are just like people, like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's like saying like white people, and I fully agree and understand what you're saying, but that's like also like do like people who are white feel weird for loving like old school hip hop, like late 80s, early 90s? Like probably not, because it's like honestly not weird. Like for example, like Jay Petta loves like all types of hip hop and like really does know that shit, and like knows it more than like almost anyone probably. And I don't think that's weird at all. Like it's just music, and like it shouldn't be weird if like you're like if you like Kiss. Like I remember I went to like my friend's house, dude, and his dad was like he was like my babysitter kind of, right? And I would only listen to like rap. Like I was listening to like 50 Cent specifically, and like a bunch of other stuff like that. I was getting into like Snoop Dogg, like Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, like all this shit. And I had a CD player, and I was like listening to it at his crib, and I go in, and his name was like Mr. John, like that's what we called him. And he was just like Iron Maiden to the fullest. And I walk in, and he's like sees me listening to something. I'm super young. I'm probably like 10 years old. And he's like, yo, what are you listening to? And I was like, I'm listening to like rap. And he's like, crap? And I'm like, I was like, what? Like, I thought he didn't hear me. And I was like, rap. And he's like, yeah, crap. And I was like, what? And he's like, dude, this is the real shit. Like, he has a fucking giant CD collection of like Iron Maiden, Slayer, Metallica, Led Zeppelin, like Def Leppard, like all this stuff. And I was like, damn, it really is crap. And then I see the Eddie figure,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't know, it kind of clicked. I'm like, yo, this is like reality. I don't know, like there's so much
that
other
shit
stuff.
is
Like
dope.
there's like skateboarding, there's graffiti, there's fucking like, there's like, you know what I mean? Like I like obviously didn't know that like hardcore or punk existed, but I'm like, there's like something that's like that, and it starts with like Eddie of Iron Maiden.
Right on.
Then my parents
yeah.
see like I bought like a Matter of Life and Death from Hot Topic. I didn't even know if I was gonna like it, but I'm just like, yo, this is the facts. Like
That's
these are
crazy.
I put that shit on my wall. My mom walks in and she just sees like like Eddie with like Iron Maiden, and she's like, the fuck is this shit? Like
I had
this
that.
is-
I had the shirt for that record, like the tanks and shit.
Yeah, the tanks, and they're all like squatted up, and it's
Yeah.
like a Matter of Life and Death, dude.
Yeah.
So good, like honestly. But you know, like speaking of like late '80s, early '90s, like the scene in New York, and I often talk about this on the show, like how insane it is that all these bands came from this like very short like mile radius of a state, city, whatever, like geographical location. They're like all coming out at this time, and you look at it now, and like I'm not saying the scene is dead. The scene's definitely not dead, but it's like what do you think happened?
New York City as a whole has just changed a lot. It doesn't produce the same kind of people because people aren't going to the same kind of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about on my first episode, like, I'm glad that New York is not a fucking insane place like it used to be all the time. I mean, insane shit happens, but I'm happy about that. But I think it's just hardcore and punk is very, very much so product of your environment type of music, and the environment is just not producing the same kind of people. You know what I mean?
No, we noticed that with like the guests that we have on, like anyone that's from that era, whether it be a graffiti writer, a skater, a hardcore dude, like, bro, they all have the
got
same like
stories.
bug in them. You know what I mean? That they've
Yeah.
been through like.
And they're like willing to do anything,
Rowdy
like
shit,
whatever is
yeah.
necessary. Like at that moment,
But it's like me, like
whatever it takes, dude.
I'm just chilling. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm glad I don't have to be like that.
No, and like people say like, oh, I wish New York was like that. Like I don't wish it was like
I
that, because
don't.
right now,
Bro,
yo, like I send him pictures, bro. Right now, at my job, because I work in Coney Island,
Mm-hmm.
when you do this the safety orientation, when your first day on that job, you give them your phone number so they text you if something happens.
Right.
Bro, I'm not even kidding you. 2 days in a row right now, there's been a shooting on my job where we get to go home early. And like my other boy just texted me this morning in Red Hook that some dude got like butchered to death and they didn't even let them go home. Like shit's happening
Shit
that
is
no one
real.
even knows about. And like you want New York to go back to that, bro? Fuck
Bro,
that.
that's what I said the first time we spoke.
Like-
People that say, "Oh, I wish New York was like sketchy," is some fucking dummy from Idaho.
Bro,
Yeah, no, like what you want is like you want to like say that you. I don't
Oh,
even
yeah.
know.
I
Like you
heard
want to like live
gunshots
this
the
fake
other day.
reality.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it fireworks or gunshots? Suck my dick. Shut up,
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah, like we
Fuck.
they're- like those people from that era were on some next level, like doing whatever's necessary. Like for no, like we were all walking downtown one day and we ran across this like this dude who's like a legendary graph writer, and he like overhears us like talking about like graffiti, and then he was like, he came up to us and he's like, "Yo, what you niggas write?" And I was like, and like it was like we didn't do anything,
Yeah.
and then we were like you know, like we just like we told them whatever,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like what are you gonna do really? And then he was like, sick. And then he was like, and I'm sure you've noticed, like we're not being hostile.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, and I'm sure you noticed I walked up to all of you and I'm alone. I know he's like looking us all in the eyeballs, and like we know he's ready to die. And then we're like, yeah, and he's like, and I wasn't afraid at all if you guys would have jumped me. And he was like, because where I'm from, he was like, the era that I'm from, if I were to have been jumped, he like, puts his hands in the air. He was like, that's just how it would have went down. You know what I'm
Oh my
saying?
god. That nigga
And
is
then like,
crazy.
dude, he's crazy. And then we were like,
That
word.
man is crazy.
But like all of those people from that, not all, of course, but like even
People
the
that
people
went
who,
through some shit.
they're literally like, is that who you want everywhere? Like, no disrespect.
Yeah, literally. I don't want both.
I don't want that everywhere.
The
Like,
fuck?
I don't want to deal with people who are willing to do whatever's necessary, like at any given moment, and
Yeah,
like
nah.
always thinking about that. I'm very, very happy that it is that like.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of hate, and I completely understand why towards like the policing system, but like it is because of these mayors that are hated, like the ones that brought like crazy policing to New York, that started to simmer down a little bit. Realistically, like
I mean, sure, whatever.
I don't think like any of us are like real deal criminals, but like what would you do if you found out like tomorrow for sure, like at a certain neighborhood at a certain time there will be no cops? Like there are people who will like get it so insanely real that you wouldn't want to. I wouldn't go outside straight up. Like if I know for a fact, and everybody knows then I'm just gonna avoid that area for the day.
I go to
easy as
Maria
that.
Hernandez Park and maybe hit a lick or two. That might be the move. If they were doing a purge situation in Bushwick,
like a purge situation.
I'll way out to Maria Hernandez Park,
Sit in the circle.
hitting the lick. Yes.
Stay in the
what-
circle.
What do you guys think about like the whole return of the New York shows and like everything that has happened within the past year?
We out. We
outside.
talked about, like, when do you think this will be over? I was like, shit, I don't know. Well, now we're here.
It's bugged out. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
now
literally
we're
here.
fucking
I did not think I'd be playing a show this year. I thought it was.
Really?
I thought it was gonna be like 30. I had no idea. I did not think that things were gonna play out this way. I mean, you and I have talked about it on our own. I was just like, I was not confident that I'd be playing shows again, or like my bands matter anymore. I was just like, not that they matter that much now, but just like, what the.
I mean,
I
yo,
don't
it
know.
seems like people are craving to come back. Because I went to that Tompkins show, bro. I couldn't even see the back of the fucking crowd. Like,
Yeah.
there was like thousands of
Like
people there.
2,000 people there or
You know what I
something
mean?
like
That I don't know. It's crazy.
I'm playing a show in 2 days in California.
Sick, dude.
I'm excited for that.
So awesome. This
Hell
is
yeah.
your first show back?
Yeah.
It's fine.
You're gonna
I might not come back, bro. I might die on stage.
You're gonna explode on stage. Like I can already see it
I'm
happening.
gonna lose
Who's it
my
with?
fucking mind. It's the Dead Heat record release. Shout out to Dead Heat, World at
Okay.
War. Just put out a new
Actually,
record.
Isn't it J-Nut's birthday?
Yeah, shout out to my boy J Nut,
Happy birthday,
Justin
J-Nut.
Ton, the king of Oxnard. Happy birthday. Yeah, and then we got some shows in August. What do you guys got?
We are
July,
playing.
right?
Yeah, we have our first show back not this following Sunday, but next Sunday at Gold Sounds with
Rob
Rob
Brigade.
Brigade. Yeah, shout out Rob Brigade, and Life's Question Combust is on it too, and we're gonna play a show in Jersey in August too. I don't think it's been announced yet, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you guys excited? It's
Yeah.
gonna be like awesome.
It's what I've been looking forward to most. Like, I've been able to do pretty much everything else. I've been able to start playing hockey again, see friends, travel, this and that. The one thing I haven't been able to do since March of 2020 is play a show. I haven't even been to one. I haven't been able to get to any shows. So, like, this first one in California is gonna be the best moment that I've had since the best moment that I've had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be the happiest I could be. You know what I mean?
It's always like that. Like when things are gone, and you appreciate them so much more.
Oh,
Like you're about to
absolutely.
appreciate
Dude,
the
I
shit.
I
out
think
of
I'm
this.
at this show and I'm like laying in bed or driving and I get butterflies in my stomach. Like I'm about to go see a girl or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't believe I'm finally gonna be able to just be in the shit. You know what I mean?
Dude, it hasn't hit me yet.
Oh
It
man,
really hasn't hit me
Wait
yet.
till it
I
hits.
like,
I think Gold Sounds will get packed. Honestly,
That's what I'm saying.
It's gonna get
I
packed.
like-
it's gonna be crazy.
dude,
It's gonna be crazy.
because this is the first Brooklyn show. This is the first Brooklyn show. And I mean, I haven't played a show since December 2019. It was at that Mind Force show. So I just like, dude, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna freak out. I'm
As you should.
gonna freak out.
As you should.
What have you guys did it like? Because I know that hardcore and being a musician, just in general, is a giant part of your lives. Since the stop of it all, how have you guys? Was it difficult to cope? Like, do you feel like a stress that you can't let out? Because I'm sure that music to you two is like a kind of it's like a stress relief. You know what I mean? It's like a kind of even like meditation where you gives you your peace of mind, and it's something that you've known and done your whole life. Something that you assumed could never be taken from you, and it didn't really get taken, but it did. Like part of it, definitely
Yeah.
a huge part of it, especially with hardcore, is like the
live show.
live shows, and it just got taken with complete uncertainty. How'd you guys deal with that?
I was like lucky enough to play 6 weeks of a tour around the world before everything stopping. So like you hadn't played for a while at that point when everything shut down, but I was out on the road for a while, came back, and I was like, all right, this pandemic shit is kind of cool. I get to chill now, no shows. But then after like 3 weeks, I was like, oh my fucking God, I can't even go to a show. So that was fucked up. Shout out to Regulate, last band in the world to be touring straight into the pandemic in Asia. But yeah, I was losing my mind. I was losing it. Yeah.
Are you a kind of person who like you thrive in these types of environments where there's like constant socialization and constant like stuff happening?
No.
So how do you feel on tour? Because I'm sure it's like blah, 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 like
It's-
mad shit
it's-
going down in your head.
So touring in Asia is different because it's a lot of people coming up to you and just thanking you a bunch for coming to play their country. So it's a different type of social aspect. Whereas if I'm playing over here, I got friends. I'm talking shit with my friends. There's just not like appreciation for you being there. And it's fine. Like I don't show up to a show waiting for someone to be like, oh my God, thank you so much. So it's different. But like on tour, like show up, play the show, chill and like I kind of remove myself until it's time to play because I don't. People over here are fucking weird. People say weird shit to you. I don't want to fucking.
People in America, you're saying?
Yeah, they're fucking weird and annoying. So I try to avoid it. I'm polite. I talk to people, but if you're fucking weird, I don't want to talk to you. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, the social aspect is definitely not what I like look for or like thrive in when it comes to hardcore. I like being in the pit and being on stage.
Yeah, what about you? Like, how did you go about coping with, you know, I know you like go through like these phases whenever like rowdy things happen in your life where you just get like sad and stuff. Like, how was it if that ever happened where like
Put you on blast. Shit.
not even, dude, it happens to everyone. But like, yeah, like now that like when that does happen, like now that you don't have like music and stuff like to explode out on stage, like what were you doing?
Dude, that was so funny. I mean, like, I mean, dude, it was such a crazy year. I don't know. I have a lot of hobbies. You know, I have a lot of shit I like. And like I said, I didn't think shows were going to come back until I was like 30. I was just like, ain't nobody going to care about my old ass fucking getting on stage, fucking not doing shit. So I was just like, yeah, I'll just pursue other things I like. And so I skated a fuck ton this year. Got really into like, I mean, I've always shot photos, but just been doing that a lot more. Like, you know, I'm a very like project oriented person. And so like, you know, before COVID, you know, like we had tours planned and we had like 10 shows that we were supposed to play that just went away. And so it was just like, and we were going to work on like a record and it was a whole thing. And then like the Answer got together one time the entire like over COVID, and that was to record a song for a compilation, for the Triple B compilation. And so like, yeah, I mean, I just wasn't a focus. I think like in the last few months, like I've been really back into guitar. Like I put the guitar down for a while, but I've been fucking around with it a lot lately, you know. One
thing that we did over the thing, we started a new band, us together.
Oh, word?
Yeah, with two of my friends from high school. Shout out my boy Greg and Stefan.
Work.
We're going to make $1 million off of it one day. I'm out there singing like an angel. He's like on guitar.
It's hardcore.
Nah.
I think you might have told me
very
about
far
this.
from it. I don't know. I mean, it's fucking like, we both like this band called The Fall of Troy a lot.
Okay.
That's actually why we're friends. We became friends over this band.
Pretty much. And Stefan and Greg, my two friends from high school, I've known for mad long. They also love this band called The Fall of Troy, and it's a 3-piece, very like technical guitar work type of band, very sporadic shit, singing shit, and that's just what we're doing now, and it's gonna be sick. It's called Webs right now, so be on the lookout for Webs. Daniel doesn't like the name, but
I don't like the name.
It's probably gonna stay at Webs.
My dad also said we should change the name.
Your dad can come see me. Webs is a good name, but yeah, be on the lookout for that.
Should we just put out the song?
Our guitarist Greg is living in Montana now. He's like super into nature, so we got a job as like a security guard at a hotel so we can hang out at some national park. So we're waiting on Greg to get back so we can put out more music.
Any music,
but
well, what's the deal with I know that you're putting out a new record, you're putting a new record on your respective bands, like what's the deal with that?
We're writing record.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we were gonna do record last year, didn't do shit for a year. Now shows exist again, and we're like kind of getting ready. We're gonna play the new song at the show, maybe another new one, but we're sort of like getting the flow of like, okay, what do we want to do? Sort of talking maybe EP, maybe LP, and just throwing out ideas. So we're kind of in that stage of it. Kind of took a year to refresh a bit, but I mean, I just have other projects like this thing we're doing, like working on some other stuff that isn't really hardcore related, and just like expect projects this year. Just yeah.
We're recording a record in September, and then we're gonna put it out, and then we're gonna play all over the world.
Can you tell me like some of the, because so in the last Regulate record, I was like reading through some of the stuff again, not even as music, just like reading the actual words in and of themselves. And you talk a lot about stuff like you hit on like things like mental constructs, and you also say stuff that like makes me think you've done like ayahuasca, but like I know that you haven't. But like
some other shit, brother.
It'll be like you'll be talking about how like you're just like a floating nothingness in the ether and stuff like that. Like what obviously you talk on like police brutality and just topics like that and like violence and aggression.
Yeah.
This upcoming record, like, do you have any specific things that are in mind?
There's one song, doesn't have a name right now, but so I saw like this thing on Instagram a year ago, and it's just like the text, and it said, more or less, it said you've been brainwashed into believing that European features are the standard of beauty. And I was thinking about that a lot. And over the last year, I've put like more appreciation into like my heritage and my hair and my looks and shit like that, which is something that was a pretty like, I was mad like insecure about that shit in the past. I'm getting better with it now, but I keep thinking about those words. And I wrote a song about how like over time, as I've gotten older, I've become more and more appreciative of the way I look and like my nose and my lips and my hair and like things that people put me down for. I'm sure Daniel put us down for as kids and stuff. And now like every white girl out there is getting lip fillers. You know what I mean? People out there doing shit to their hair, like white girls walking around with like crazy color hair when like black women walk around with crazy color hair for mad long. You know what I mean? And that's good. Like if that's going to make someone feel better about themselves, go for it. The point I'm trying to make is that like I got made fun of so much for my lips and my nose and my hair and skin and all that shit. And now it's like mainstream to look a certain way. And it wasn't mainstream to look a certain way when I was younger. You know what I mean? So the song is about just like, I just feel good about the way I look now. You know what I mean? And all you guys are trying to jack that now. And that's cool. But you'll never be able to touch the real thing. You'll never be able to look the way my mom looks, my sisters and my cousins and shit, and other black and Latino women out there. You know what I mean? So the record it's very personal, as every record should be, I think. But that song, I think, is going to be like the standout track. There's another song that's just about being in the moment. It relates to like my band specifically. Like when we're out on tour and shit, we just, whatever finds us, we just go out and do it. I feel like a lot of bands out there, like, I know there's one band, I won't put them on blast. I've done that. Nah, it's all right. They bring a photographer with them, and that's cool, like, to document the memories and shit. But, like, you got your boy just taking candid photos of you on an airplane, and you're posting, like, Aaron, this is weird to me, because, like, you should be right there. You are right there right now. Why do you need, like, the extra documentation from an outside source? Just enjoy that moment right there. So that song I think is going to be a standout too. We're going to play that in California. Just about being right here, right now. Like the four of us right here, right now. It will never be replicated, and we can think about this very fondly in the future. But right now is the most important thing in the universe to us four. You know what I mean? And we have to put more appreciation on that.
I mean, yeah, in terms of like the whole brainwashing of the European standard of beauty, it's like funny you say that because like if we are brainwashed to that, we literally won't know it. Because, like, if we're truly brainwashed, that means, like, we're not aware of this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could, because there is that thought where it could be like, no, I'm not brainwashed. This is literally just what looks attractive to human beings. You could be like, no, I'm not brainwashed. This is literally just my personal preference. But you wouldn't know, right? You wouldn't know because if like, it's all you've seen since day one, that's what you'll think. And it's, you know how you know for a fact, actually, like, you know for a fact that we are brainwashed no matter what we try to do. Is because like past society, if that's what like humans think is attractive, then all humans, like I'm saying in past society in general, would think that's like the standard of beauty.
And that's not
but you've
the
been
case.
seeing it change through like even just like like different nations, different generations. Like that shit changes. So it's like, and that shit's pretty ass because like because then like you know like
Indeed.
a whole people are like ugly. Like your natural shit is like the negative of what appearances. Like there's a positive appearance, there's a negative appearance, and like you are the negative. That's what like that's, and then you're literally, there is no like positive or negative. You're just like you just like are, but now everyone has been brainwashed to think you're the negative, so now like you officially are because that's just what everyone has like collectively agreed upon. But honestly it is changing, which is really sick. Like we are living in like a generation, honestly probably thanks to online and just like the advancement of society, like we're watching it all change. And like not only is it changing, but like those who like you know, like it's like everything's changing and it's becoming so much more open and like and accepting, and like, you know, it's like awesome to see, you know. What are you guys gonna say?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, you know, like even though we're sort of like kind of rewriting and everything, you know, I have songs that have in a lot of subjects I want to talk about, and like, you know, kind of like what he was saying about like being this last year kind of really learn to appreciate your culture and learn to appreciate where you come from and your heritage. Something I've always known, but that is just really hit hard this last year is just recognizing the fact that Black culture in America is, it's prominent, it takes over, it's what runs, culture here. But beyond that, there's a certain point where that history gets cut off, and I don't know where I come from. I could 23andMe and figure out where my bloodline goes down to, but I mean at the end of the day, it's just I don't, and a lot of other Black people don't know who they are. I remember I was watching an interview on Instagram, a little snippet from some UK rapper, and he was talking about how sick it would be if the Black people over here knew who they were, because over there, they're African, they know where they come from, they know that they're from Zimbabwe or Nairobi or whatever, and they're we can look at people and just be oh yeah, you look like you're from Ghana, or you look like you're from whatever, and it's just we don't have that. And sort of recognizing that we sort of have a lot of our culture that's been stripped from us, and a lot of there's a certain amount of pride that comes from being a part of a group that has so much willpower that we just started over, you know what I mean? But there's also there's a bit of misplaced identity issues, because we don't understand why certain things are ingrained in us, and really sort of tackling some of that, and understanding that it's just we don't know who we are, and it's sort of talking a lot about that. I have a lot of my own things with police brutality. The new song that's for the Triple B thing, it's sort of about an experience I had at the protest last year, and it's
so what happened at the protest last year?
I was at the Barclays Center protest on the first day, and I was just there. I was there to kind of watch and see what was happening. There was about 5,000 protesters there, and maybe about 50 cops. There was a big barricade in between the two of us, and things started to get a little bit rowdy. And at one point, they started macing the crowd, and they maced a little girl, a little 14-year-old girl. I tried to help her up, and it was a very frustrating time. I went there because, and this is sort of a backtrack to another time in my life, where when Trump got elected in Ohio, I was still living there, and there were a lot of protests happening there. I think they were everywhere, but specifically at one of the protests, I was there with one of my friends at the time, and it was another mixed kid, another Black kid like me, and we were standing there, and cops, and then on the other side of the cops there were a bunch of Trump supporters, and I don't know if anyone knows about white people from Ohio, but a lot of them are fucking hillbillies, and we have KKK and Nazis and all that kind of shit out there, and so I mean, in between us, there's all these red hat dudes just fucking calling us niggers and shit, and saying every fucking thing they can to us, and there's we're saying whatever we're saying, and there's a Black woman cop in between us, who is hears everything they're saying to us.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where it's just kid who was next to me started talking to her, and it was just what are you doing? What do you think you're doing? They don't care about you. They don't love you. They don't, you can hear it. They hate you. The people you're standing next to, these dudes and these badges and these guns, they don't care about your position. Just you should be standing here with us. And she was sobbing. It was just a really, it was a moment.
That was in Ohio.
That was in Ohio. And so I went to the Barclays Center protest, not with any not with any like real like ambition to do anything, but just to sort of spectate and to see kind of what was going on. And this is sort of this was I still had a little bit of hope in people at that point, but so I see this little girl get hurt. This a black cop comes up to me. I think his name was like Officer Robinson, I think that's what his name was, something like that. After that happened, I helped her up. He comes up to me and he's like trying to tell me to leave, and I'm just like, nah. We're just kind of not having a screaming match, but we're having a very intense conversation. I'm just like, are you happy with this? Is this like what you think you're supposed to be doing? Like, do you think you're helping? Like, do you see like what, like, do you understand like what is actually happening here? And this is amongst chaos flying around us. People are getting, and some fucking like Italian like cop is like trying to fucking like tell me something, and I'm just like, yo, I'm having a fucking conversation with Officer Robinson, isn't that right? And he said, yeah, we're having a fucking conversation. And it's just me and this black cop, and this Italian dude just fucking just like does not like that I talked to him like that. And he ended up like tackling me to the ground. Next thing I know, I'm like on the ground with like fucking 7 other cops. I'm like getting like kicked and like punched on and shit. Got my fucking shirt ripped off and everything. I mean, like, there was a photo that circled around a little bit, but I got like dragged by like 7 cops like over the barricade. I was the only person who was over. I was one of the first like 5 people that got arrested. And when I got like held over that barricade and like I was just kind of over there by myself, it got so quiet. Like, everyone watched, no one did anything.
You probably thought you were gonna die or get smoked.
I thought there was a gun to the back of my head.
Yeah.
I straight up thought I was gonna die, and I got thrown on the bus. Got told I was gonna get hit with all these fucking charges about inciting a riot and all this fucking shit. And I had to sit in jail for like, I don't know, like maybe like 10 hours, like no shirt or shoes and shit. And like it was a whole thing. And it's just sort of about.
And like, what did you even do? You know what I mean? Like,
what can I do?
No, I'm saying like that all happened because like essentially nothing. Like, you didn't do anything to be like straight up treated like an animal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's to touch on your point and you guys' point about like not knowing like the heritage and feeling like lost in terms of like, and then you're refinding your heritage and like refinding your essentially like your foundation, like straight up like what is in your blood and genes. So like AKA just learning more about yourself. Like I recently read Malcolm X's book, and he talked about that, and he talked about how like this was like more during his like Nation of Islam days, and how like people didn't like these like the black and browns of America, like they don't have like a deep understanding of like who they are and like like their roots, I'm saying. And also like not just that, but like the system especially back then is like more set up in a way where like it's difficult to gain like knowledge. And it brings me back to our first episode where we talk about like self-guided learning and seeking out knowledge like in your own way. And it's like that's super, super important, especially for people who the way the structure is set up like wouldn't be getting that otherwise. Like I think it's like I read like a good amount, and I read about stories of like black and brown people who have went to prison and their realizations in there when they're like, fuck, I have absolutely nothing to do, so let me just go to the library and start reading. And they start reading, and like they open their minds and come out legitimately like a better, changed, more knowledgeable and like mentally free person. And also like it is like this dude Hurt was on our show, and he talked about how it's like that lack of understanding that breeds ignorance, which breeds like all the ills of our society. Like, for example, that Italian cop that like you were faced with like doesn't understand the greater picture clearly, like doesn't understand like you, doesn't understand, like it's just ignorance, it is what it is. Like and it's like on both sides, like the structure is also set up so that like they wouldn't understand, you know what I mean? Like it's not like they have any big reason, like big inner reason why they would go and search out this history or search out this knowledge of like things that have happened. And like, because at the end of the day, like what do you want? You just want like peace. And like, do you think he wants to be there like tackling you? Like I'm saying, like in the greater whole, like it's not like these are things that people want to do and how they want to spend their life. It just happens like through like the course of events. And I think it's super important to like speak on these things and actually do something about it in terms of like not just like a social project, but also like you yourself, like the way you're seeking out knowledge, or like I know you go to like these events where like they celebrate specific dates and important things that have to do with like our actual like and your actual like history and roots. It's important to do things like that. I feel like to connect you to like the greater picture, that it's not just like everyone just wants like this like some sort of like peace, and it's like crazy that those type of things happen. Like you literally could have been the next like fucking thing. Like you could literally like they could like the dude could have just got pissed and like ended you. You know what I mean? Over, you know what I mean? Like what? It all happens over like straight up nothing. You know, it's like it's honestly crazy. So like, I know that before you mentioned like a minute ago, like at an ice cream shop when like me and you were chilling forever ago, about how like it might have been in Ohio, but like a long time ago you got like jumped by a bunch of at like some show or something like that. Like, what happened, and like how did that like shape your thought process and like pretty much everything?
Happened in really, I mean, it's hard for me to like say now what happened, just because like there was a lot of things I just didn't know back then. You know, it was really just like my friends went to shows. I went with them to a show that they said was going to be cool. I didn't know anything about any of the bands or anything, but I was just like music, you know. And you know, so I went to the show, and it was like I think I'm trying to be careful about how I say it, but
yeah, for sure.
You know, it was just at a venue that I just probably shouldn't have been at. And if I would have been older and like known more about my surroundings, I probably would have known not to go there. But yeah, it was just the wrong kid at the wrong place at definitely the wrong time. And yeah, I got hurt pretty bad just for being there. And that was, yeah, I ended up having to go to the hospital. I got pretty fucked up over that. Some broken bones and shit, like broken rib. That is, I don't know, that was one of the, I don't know if that was, if I would say that was a defining moment for me in my life, but that was a start of a lot of anger that didn't really get dealt with for a long time. Because going back to Ohio, growing up, you know, dealing with, you know, like, you know, literally have fucking like KKK members like dropping off like fucking like flyers on your door to like join their shit, and like
they literally do that.
Literally,
that's so crazy.
Would like fucking Jehovah's Witness, like
that's wild.
Crazy shit.
Yeah, I've never seen like a Klan member in person or anything like that. Dude.
Not with the hood on.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Dude,
like, no.
Me neither.
I mean,
crazy.
Like, I'd be pretty fucking terrified if I'm gonna be real. I'd be like, yo, I need to bounce. Like, I'm about to start jetting.
Out that bitch.
It's scary. I mean, it's just like, you know, like that. I mean, that was a part of my environment. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's. I don't know. I mean, I don't. I think when you go to like those rural areas like that, you know, that's just kind of what's there, you know, like. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard, but I mean, I'll say this. It's just like it's also hard to like think about, you know, like I kind of, whenever I bring that stuff up, I think about it more in the sense of like, you know, in comparison to like the kind of like racism that you experience here, where it's like, I mean, yeah, people like say insane shit to you and like it's in your face, but I mean like you can look at like an extreme like that and just be like, you're fucking crazy. You know, it's like that has nothing to do with like me or anything. And it's like, it's just different, you know, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm not really answering this. It's
no,
like,
I understand. And no,
yeah.
It's like you're giving like a good account, honestly. You know, like it's like getting to that time, but I just wanted to say like, I really appreciate both of you coming in and like sharing personal stories and like personal conflicts and like all that stuff, because you know, it really helps out, and it's clearly like a super deep and emotional conversation that gives a more of a insight on like, because you know, you see these things online and it doesn't, like, I don't think it hits the same as when you hear like a voice, or you see these things online of like, let's say you see George Floyd getting smoked with a knee, but you never hear him speak. You never hear like the further, you never hear like the thoughts of like straight up fear, or like a big, like an like a impactful image to me is like the one you make of like the barricade and the cop, and you're like truly just asking the cop, like, what are you doing? Because it's like, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? And that's just like a very strong image.
The powerful thing that got to me, what you were saying, was like the lady cop, like starting to really start sobbing. Like that's a powerful image, you know what I mean? And there's many like that, and it's just like, yo, at the end of the day, like, what do you know what I mean? It's incredible.
I mean, I think it's just an important thing to like ask. I mean, I don't think, you know, don't get me wrong, I fucking hate cops, you know what I mean? But like, at the end of the day, it's just like, I don't think everyone who becomes a cop does it for reasons that are fucked up. And I don't think that everyone who is a cop thinks that, I don't know, is on some just bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, I think people are really misguided in thinking that they can make a difference on the inside. And I think people are really misguided in their understanding of what the police force really is. Yeah. But you know, if you wear the badge in front of me, I'm not fucking with you. But like, I think I you know, people are still people, and they deserve to be challenged. You should challenge people on why they feel a certain way, and they should be able to fucking back it up. If they can't, they're gonna know they can't. Like, even if they deflect and try and give you some bullshit, and you're just like, you're right, you're fucking out of your mind. But like, I mean, people know when they don't know shit, and you know, when you challenge people, like, force them to think, and it force them to rethink some things. You know, why isn't in Portland, like, the entire fucking police force like fucking dipped out because of just all the bullshit they've been giving them? You know,
Crazy, right?
It's crazy. You know.
Do you guys want to give like any last shout outs, any last words?
Shout out to me. Yeah. Shout out to myself.
Damn, that's pretty cool.
You have nothing else? Let's go on a more.
Can we end on a high note? I'm all bummed out now.
Okay, dude. Dude, we just like went in on some fucking.
No,
Yeah,
it's
switch
like
it
shit.
up. Remix. Switch it up.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like we pretty much like touched on like all the stuff I wanted to touch on. I definitely didn't want to like end up on like the most depressing note ever.
For real.
You know what I mean? But like, I don't think it necessarily has to be a depressing thing. I think that like these things happening have like a huge impact on like improvement. Like, these are the things that lead to improvement. All the crazy improvements that have gone down in like history have happened because some fucked up shit happened, realistically. Or like all the technological improvements happen because we're getting smoked and we need like some crazy device to help us, whether that be like the Rowdy Mill to have clean water because everyone's dying at 30 years old. Like, these are the things that fuels like change in every aspect. And the fact that all these things happened very recently within the past year, and obviously have been happening for a long time, but the fact that these things happened, like, this is what is going to fuel this. And yeah, as a society and as like little people, we're looking up on this and we're like, well, what has changed? Nothing, blah blah blah. But these are how those things happen, like, you know, like drop by drop, inch by inch. And the fact that it's so covered online and so like all over the media, and it's all over the place. It is like, although you're like, fuck, all I'm seeing on the news is negativity, but it's like there is a part of it that is good, that this is what you're seeing, because it puts it in your face. There's like a thing in business where like the customer has to see it 12 times before they make a move on it. So imagine in terms of social change, where like you're gonna have to see it a million times. You're gonna see it once and you're gonna forget about it. How many people have already forgotten about everything that has already happened? It's so easy to forget, like by no fault of their own. Like, it's just easy to forget. We have so much going on in our lives. So you know, I don't think necessarily like, yeah, of course it's negative that those things happen, but they're going to bring about like it's like the shore has to recede before it can come back. It's all going to just, you know, because there's no doubt about it. Things have been getting better. Like, you'd come to the era where it was like completely okay to say racial slurs, and completely okay. Like, if anything, you're weird if you don't say that. Like, in these eras, like famous books, you know, like movies, and like Now it's not, and you know, it's just goes like that inch after inch. Of course, it sucks that you still see like 14-year-old girls getting pepper sprayed in their face. Yeah, that does suck. But like to look at it, like I said, on a more positive note, like you see that things have been getting better, and they have.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everything's perfect, but there's no doubt about it that we're approaching a more united state. And I don't even mean that in terms of America, just like in terms of humanity.
Yeah.
Like, we give a fuck that things happen in the Middle East.
Yep.
I feel like before, no one would give a fuck. They'd be like,
A lot of people do.
cool. You know what I mean? Like, there's like a fringe group of like maybe like hippies or whatever who care, and the rest do not care. And
Or
like,
they're just like, oh, it's not happening here, so it's
who gives a
whatever.
fuck?
Yeah,
Now people care, and like people in America and around the world will straight up like start GoFundMe's and send them mad money that is worth even more to them because of like the interchange of like currency and stuff. Like, you know, like we're heading in the, I think overall, like it's like, but like overall it's like the right direction. You know, that's what I think about it.
That's how it should be.
Yep.
Compassion needs to go outside of your scope. You know what I mean? Outside of what's in front of you.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, bro. Thank you guys for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Peace.
Peace.